Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Ryan Cinematic Obsessions. And this week I'm changing it up again, and today we're going to be talking about a bunch of Fritz Lang stuff. Today on Ryan Cinematic Obsessions. Alright everybody, well the first thing we're going to do today is I got a package in the mail. And I already opened up the package, but this is something I've really been wanting for many years. And as far as I know, there is no North American Blu-ray release of this film. I'm hoping that they do a like an updated Blu-ray of this in this same line. I'll go ahead and say, hopefully they upgrade this in the Criterion collection. This is a DVD. I've actually wanted this DVD for a while. I don't have a region-free Blu-ray player, or else I would have actually bought this already. Like the Masters of Cinema line, I think, has it. And I am talking about Fritz Lang's 1933 film, The Testament of Dr. Medusa. The Testament of Dr. Medusa. Sorry, I just woke up from a nap, so my words are kind of all over the place. Now, this is a film I have not yet seen, but I've wanted it for a while because in the next segment, you'll hear me talk about the film this is actually a sequel to, that Fritz Lang did, and it's a silent epic. This one is not a silent film. It's from 1933, and really looking forward to checking this out. And I've heard nothing but great things. My buddy Luke says this is a great film, and the original film is one of my favorites. It's a masterpiece, so I can't wait to check this out and see the further adventures, or go further into the mind of Dr. Medusa. This Criterion cost me, I think I got it like for $11, but I had $6 in my PayPal account that I had forgotten about, so it really only cost me like $6. I mean, obviously it cost me the full price, but I had money in my PayPal account that I completely forgot about, so it worked out. It's a very interesting cover compared to a lot of other, the Masters of Cinema cover for this film, but it seems to fit. Looking forward to finally checking this movie out. It's the old Criterion 2-disc DVD set that has the thick side, which I really liked about Criterion's old 2-disc DVD sets. So can't wait to check this film out, and I will definitely be doing a review for it on Ryan Cinematic Obsessions when I finally watch it, which probably will be relatively soon. I was going to be doing some Argento videos, or this video was actually going to be an Argento thing, but after much thought, I'm actually going to push that until October, because I think Ryan Cinematic Obsessions in October is going to be a lot of, I'm going to try to keep it horror related the whole month. So that's what I decided to do. Doesn't have a booklet like how Criterion usually has huge booklets, but it does have this little pamphlet. So it has, obviously it has an essay. Oh, that's pretty sweet. And it has all the credits on the back. So yeah, I can't wait to check this film out. And when it comes to Criterion, if I find one for a good price, doesn't matter if it's DVD, I'm gonna pick it up, because I love Criterion, and I always have. And looking forward to, I think this fall, my birthday's coming up in September, and between my birthday and Christmas, I'm going to try to add a bunch more Criterion titles. Last year I finally surpassed 100 Criterions, and looking forward to getting more. I used to blow so much money on Criterions, but older, a little bit wiser now than back then, and I really try to make it a treat whenever I do get them. So I don't buy them all the time like I used to, but when I do, I try to make sure it's worth it. Or if I find a good sale or a good deal on a DVD or Blu-ray. So yeah, so that is my unboxing of Dr. Medusa, or the Testament of Dr. Medusa. So thank you guys so much for watching this segment. I'll see you shortly. All right, everybody. So talking about the Dr. Medusa film, I decided to pick out 4 films out of my collection, and these are all Kino films, and I just wanted to talk about these aren't the only Fritz Lang films I own, but these are my 4 favorite go-to in regards to his silent films. And so just wanted to show them off and talk to you guys about them. Obviously, the first one I'm going to talk about is one that a lot of people talk about, rightly so. It's a brilliant, influential film, and it is probably, in terms of silent film and silent science fiction, probably his most accessible film in terms of people who might not be into silent films, because it is so visually amazing and it has such a great reputation for people who don't really particularly care for silent films, but it is a film that they acknowledge they must have in their collection. They need to see it at least once, and it's actually a film that really gets a lot of people further into silent film and start watching it. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of silent cinema, and I really try to get people to watch as many silent films as they can. I do fully believe, kind of like what Leonard Maltin says when he talks about any film lover. I'm paraphrasing, but basically he says you can't really call yourself a film lover and say you fully appreciate film unless you've seen silent film. Now, that's paraphrasing. That's not exactly how he said it. That might not even be what he meant by when he said it. But I agree with that. And when I was younger, like, I grew up watching silent movies and stuff with my mom, but I didn't make the choice until I saw Birth of a Nation and a few other silent films, The General, that I saw when I was very young. But it wasn't until about, 10 years ago that I really tried to get further into silent film and started seeing more. And probably about 3 or 4 years ago, since my buddy Luke started getting really big in the silent film, and me and him were just devouring anything that we could find. Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, these Fritz Lang films, Murnau films. We were just devouring everything and talking about it and chatting about it and making videos about it. And it's sad that over 75% of silent films are lost, because there are some brilliant films that will never see the light of day in this modern era, because they were just lost or destroyed. So with all that said, the first one I'm going to show is Metropolis, with this awesome lenticular cover, and this is the complete Metropolis. I know some people might leave comments saying, well, technically it's not complete because there's a few minutes that isn't there that was originally in it. Yes, it's not complete per se. It's like a couple minutes off, but there are subtitles that show, like, that describe what happened in a scene. It's as complete as we're probably ever going to get. And basically, Metropolis is a science fiction film, basically about, the big city on the top and all the workers and all the servants who live underground, who are basically fueling this city, and they're basically slaves to all these rich people that are in charge of all the industry and everything. And basically, to sum it all up, and I know if you're watching this, you've already seen this movie anyways. It's basically the son of one of the biggest leaders in town goes below deck and witnesses some pretty interesting things, some harsh things, and it really opens up his mind to how the people who keep the city running actually live, how they suffer, how they're basically used as slaves, and it all kind of comes to a head. And I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, so I'm not gonna, spoil any more of it, or if I've even spoiled any at all. But it is a brilliant film. The visuals alone is something to be, you really, even if you hate this movie, you could appreciate it. I mean, you could just watch some of the special effects for hours and wonder how the heck did they do that? These models are amazing. And it's just, is inspired so many science fiction films without even realizing it. This film was so huge and influential. So, Metropolis. Next up, I'm going to talk about one that probably isn't the most loved, like universally loved by film lovers compared to Metropolis and a couple of the other ones I'm going to talk about. But this movie really surprised me. I knew I was going to like it, but I ended up really loving it, and that is Woman in the Moon. This film came out in, I forgot to say Metropolis. When did it come out? Metropolis came out in 1927. Woman in the Moon came out in 1929. And what's really cool about this film is that it basically is one of like the earliest instances of it was like a serious science fiction film. Now, like, A Trip to the Moon and some other things before this, it was all lighthearted fun. Trip to the moon, you get shot to the moon, and that's how they got there. And this is actually the first, to my knowledge, the first science fiction movie that took going to the moon seriously in terms of the setup and actually getting to the moon. It dramatizes the first lunar expedition, lunar, however people pronounce it. They actually had like technical consultants during the making of the film. They wanted to try to make it as realistic as possible. Now, when you watch it, it's not realistic really at all, but they take it very seriously, and that's the difference on what you've previously seen. And it's just such a great film. Now, at 169 minutes, the plot they don't actually prepare to go to the moon until like 50 minutes into the film. And at first, I was like, man, the first 20 or 30 minutes, really the first 40 minutes, at first you could be kind of maybe looking at your watch, like wondering, when is this thing going to pick up? But you get to know the characters, the situations regarding them wanting to go to the moon and all this stuff. And it really, by the time you go to the moon, you know these characters, and it makes the rest of the film like a punch. Like, it's so good, and you know these characters, you've invested in them. It takes its time, like, tremendously. I would compare it to like The Deer Hunter, where you're with them for like an hour before anything actually, they go to Vietnam, or The Godfather, where you spend the first 30 minutes at a wedding before the plot really starts to kick up. And that's the development, the character development and the plot development in this film is just next to none. And I really, really like this film a lot. So you definitely need to check this out too. Next, I talked about this film a little bit already. This movie is just, it's so good. Dr. Medusa the Gambler. This was, I think, my second Fritz Lang silent film I ever saw. I can't remember if I saw this one or the next one first, but I do know that this was a hard one to actually put in, because it's 270 minutes, and it is split between two parts, and it was released in two different parts. I'm pretty sure it was released as I forgot the actual, well, it was released in 2 different parts, but they kind of put it together, and it's collectively known as Dr. Medusa the Gambler. And basically what you have is a con man who is a master of disguise, manipulating everything and everyone for his own personal glory, I guess you could say, and his greed. That sums it up pretty spoiler free, but I do gotta tell you, the introduction of this character is one of the best introductions of any character I have ever seen in a movie. You are, from the second the movie starts, you're seeing this guy who is just up to something, and it goes to all these different areas, and involves like a stock market and a trade situation, and you see a bunch of different characters that are doing all these different things, and then you realize what actually is going on, and it is like, I wanted to stand up and go, this movie is badass. This movie is brilliant. And then the rest of the film, while I would say that it could be a little bit shorter, it definitely doesn't disappoint. It could be shorter though. It's 270 minutes. I'd say they could at least, it could have been at least 45 minutes to an hour shorter. It'd still be a very long film, but I think it could have been shorter. But you guys, if you guys are into like crime films, especially complex underworld kind of crime films where one guy is just a master manipulator, this is something you guys need to see. And that's why I'm very excited to see the Testament of Dr. Medusa. So definitely need to see this. This came out in 1922. I forgot to mention that. Now next up, last and certainly not least, this is my favorite silent epic of all time. This movie right here came out in 1924 and 1925, released in 2 parts. Die Nibelungen. I always have an issue saying that. Die Nibelungen, or Die Nibelungen. This movie, if you like Lord of the Rings, if you like any kind of fantasy epic, if you like Game of Thrones, this movie is for you. It is very long. The first part's 149 minutes and the second part's 131 minutes. But it is worth every single second. The first film is called Siegfried, and it is basically about a hero who is going to rescue a princess. Basically, I mean, she's not a princess. He's just finding his love, and he wants to marry her, so on and so forth. And through a series of very tragic circumstances, things change. And the second part of the film is called Grimhild's Revenge. Grimhild's Revenge. And it is basically Game of Thrones in the silent era. Ah, man, now I'm starting to have a brain fart. I can't remember. Dang, I hope I didn't, like, was he going, I know he was going to marry her and find his love. But I can't remember, was she it's been a while since I've seen this, so like the little plot elements kind of escape me. But see this dragon right here? This is a practical effects dragon. It's a big puppet that they used, and it is amazing. I could talk about this film for hours, but I don't want to keep this video going on any more than it needs to. But this has like a revert. Oh, I don't want to show the back of this because it'll be a huge spoiler. And if you need to avoid the film posters for this film because it spoils the first film. But that cover art is amazing, and I don't want to blow the because I didn't know that the first film ended that way, so I was spoiled, but I don't want you guys to be spoiled. So first film is like adventure, great practical, great fantasy, trolls, dragons, great effects. Second part, revenge, 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 manipulation, craziness, and just sinister stuff. And it ends with a bang, if you know what I mean. So those are some of my favorite Fritz Lang silent films. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And got a treat for y'all next week. I've been planning next week for a little while. Not really a treat because it's not really different than what I've been doing. But the films I'm going to be talking about, it's going to be cool. So let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know if you've seen these films down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. See ya.